Throughout history, mankind has been searching for the answers to the secrets of the world. Visionaries, scientists, and scholars have all pondered the same question. Is there an afterlife? An eternal existence which awaits us all beyond our physical being? Now, for the first time, science and supernatural forces meet head-to-head as two men take things one step closer to revealing the truth. Join renowned paranormal researcher Don Phillips and parapsychologist Steve Mera as they leave no stone unturned on a venture that just might change your life forever. Tonight, Don and Steve investigate paranormal disturbances at Mill Street Barracks, Liverpool. The barracks is said to be a hotbed of unexplained activity. Don captures ghostly voices during an underwater experiment. Discovery is made which sets the duo on a search for evidence leading to a recording studio and onto a church. And what happened to Don's hand? All this and more in tonight's episode of Phenomena Project.
So Jamie, tell me, what's it like doing some of the work that you've done here regarding people and coming in and investigating some of the strange things that have been reported?
It's fantastic, really. I mean, it's a big place to be at, and the amount of people we've had in here, every one of them have gone away, you know, positive and enjoying themselves. I mean, the paranormal activity is unbelievable, you know.
So you've got people who claim that they've seen or experienced things of a paranormal nature?
They have, yeah. We've had quite a lot of people who claim. We've even had photographs, with actual footage of feet. We've actually.
Well, can I ask, have you experienced anything yourself whilst you've been here?
Yes.
Right. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, it's mainly down in the cellar. You know, we've had a lot of experiences down there. I've seen shadows down there. We've got a name of a person. I mean, I can't tell you the name. Okay. Obviously, we'll be going down there later.
Yeah.
And this name came through both. At the time, I had 2 night vision cameras and a recorder. And when I got home, I listened to all 3 of them, and all 3 of them had the actual whisper of the name on it.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, so that was fantastic.
So you're aware of some of the history about the location?
Yeah, the basics of it. Yeah, I know it's you know, been here since 1861, and we know it's been a dance hall, it's been a soldier's mess, it's been for the cadets now, it's been a home for people.
Oh, so it's been used for a lot of different things over the years. Yeah. And obviously, I believe you've met Don before. Yeah,
we were down in the cellar here at Mill Street, and Don pointed to me and he said, "Do you know who this person is?" And when he pressed the recordings, when he played them back, you could actually hear it saying, "Yes, it's Jamie." So what you're telling me is that something said your name on a recording device? As clear as anything, yeah.
That's really, really interesting.
Well, that's when I sat back and thought, that's real.
And of course you've been obviously following Don's work since.
Of course. And he'd done it again, and he asked them, "Would he happy with me being here?" And he actually said, "Yes, we like Jamie."
Yeah. Don's going to be visiting us tonight, and you've experienced some of his work before. It'll certainly be interesting to find out what we get.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with Don several times now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he picks up.
I believe it'll be fascinating. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
We were all preparing and looking forward to the night's investigation at Mill Street Barracks. And during this time, I was walking across the hall. I sensed something which seemed a little out of the ordinary. At first, I thought it was a spot, an area. This had me intrigued. I spent the next few minutes just wondering what this was. At one time it would appear it was there, another time it would appear it wasn't. At this time, I was only walking horizontally across whatever was there, which meant it appeared to be a very small area. It's when I turned and walked horizontally in line with it. I was convinced this was a ley line, either a ley line or more likely a tunnel running underneath Mill Street Barracks. If this was a tunnel, then obviously it may extend further beyond the barracks underneath the road to the opposite property. And even if that was the case yet to be established, why would I be feeling energy which had obviously drew me to this area in the first place?
Don's been over there and he's walking across the hall back. I've seen him for the last 10 minutes pacing backwards and forwards, and it seems to be always stopping at the same location. Something that he claims is running parallel across the floor there.
It's literally straight down. You see the tunnel from there.
Are you aware of anything like that at this location?
Well, it's hearsay.
What we're saying then is because I would say, of course that's me, I'm very sceptical about these sort of things, but what we're basically saying here is then that could be actually a tunnel crossing the path where Don's actually is and been pacing up and down.
Yeah, because it's probably about the same place. I mean, I couldn't say exactly.
Well, we do know that the church is in the back.
Yeah.
And it could have been a tunnel, obviously. There has been tunnels coming from churches for many years. And it'd be interesting to actually know how far that tunnel goes, maybe if it goes across the way. I know there's some studios across the way, so we might be able to check that.
That's a jump studio, yeah. It could be.
It would be worth looking into. If we go to the studios, might be able to actually find out if there's somebody there, what they might know, if they know of anything in regard to any tunnel. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I don't believe anything's documented. I've not come across anything that's documented about it.
I've not seen anything documented, but I mean, Don might be in, so we could give him.
Yeah.
Give
All
him
right, we'll do that. We'll go over and have a look.
Okay. Yeah.
Jimmy and myself was outside the front of Mill Street Barracks. It wasn't long before I began to feel something wasn't quite right. My attention was drawn to an upstairs window. I didn't know which room was behind the window, but I began to feel quite convinced that somebody had been seriously hurt in the past, or at least had met their demise.
No, not about the windows, more like inside. Is there anything significant?
Oh, this section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Could the room above have any connection with what happened next?
That's blood.
It is, yeah. Where's that coming from?
Nowhere. I thought it was paint. Sister Jamie got paint on me.
Paint on you?
Isn't
It's too dark now, it looks like paint.
Just on my hands.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been on all the wood. I can smell that.
That's blood.
We need to check that for my blood, don't we, Steve? We said that before. Alright, let's go and do that. Let's go and do that.
It had been previously documented by Steve Merritt that on occasion, when we're in the presence of strong energy, blood will show from my ears, from my nose. On this occasion, it suddenly appeared on my hand. Steve took a sample for analysis.
Is that enough?
That's enough.
You got enough?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's all I need.
Just to make sure there's no cuts. Turn your hand over.
No cuts, Jackie.
There's no cuts at all.
Jamie was talking with Don. Don was somehow drawn to the location down there for some apparent reason. Nobody really knew where he was going and what he was actually doing. What was really interesting is that as Don was down there and being currently filmed, he was pointing up at the building and was picking up on something as had an accident or something, an injury occurred in a certain location. He was asking Jamie questions. Jamie was concurring the fact that something did probably happen there, but didn't. I've asked Jamie not to divulge that information at this moment in time. Probably find out a little bit later. However, just as we were coming back, Don noticed something sticky on his left hand, and when we looked down, it, by all intents and purpose, I thought he'd cut himself. He turned his hand over. I couldn't find no wound, but what was really interesting is the fact that it was, by all intents and purpose, blood. It was sticky, as blood would be, and it also smelled that metallic blood smell that you often get. Now, there were no wounds on Don whatsoever. I took a sample of that blood, whatever it is on his hand, and I will check to find out what that actually is. We also noticed there was a couple of drops of blood on Don's trousers as well, and we've been back down there, we've looked on the walls, we've looked at everything that he touched and came into contact with. There's absolutely nothing to say what this liquid could be on his hand. It did look like blood by all intents and purposes. Anyway, we've asked, Don's washed his hands thoroughly now. I've took a sample of that, and we'll certainly find out about what it could possibly be. But what's really interesting is that blood manifestations have taken place in regards to mediumship for a long time, and You know, people have looked into those sort of things, and in some cases confirmed that it actually is blood. As to where it comes from and why, nobody really knows. And some cases, more often, it usually comes from the nose or the eye. And very, very rarely does it actually even come from the ears. But there has been on a couple of occasions I've actually talked with Don and actually witnessed it myself, actually blood just suddenly coming out from his ear. Now this tends to tie in, the fact is that when Don's having what you might refer to as a lot of this energy that he often refers to, and when it gets very high, he seems to have these manifestations, really, over the last month. Taking as if this is blood on his hand, and we're talking 2 times, and that's really, really interesting. Also, Don also mentioned about some type of channel or some type of area in the building where it seems to be drawn a line of some type of energy was picking up on him. I'm really not too sure, but when talking to Jamie, he did confirm there could be, in fact, a tunnel. That tunnel could have come from this building, which was across the road, to this building and on through to the church in the background. What's really interesting is that Don may in fact have picked up on that tunnel. It'd be great if we can confirm that maybe at a later date, maybe get some plans or find out some more information pertaining to that. Nevertheless though, it's absolutely fascinating. We both experienced something quite tonight, which that strange liquid on his hand. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you know yourself, I was out there with Don, I walked with Don, and to actually see the blood on his hand at the time really did surprise me.
I mean, we're assuming it's blood. I mean, by all intents and purposes, it had that smell to it, the texture to it, the colour to it. It was dried like it was dried blood. By all intents and purposes, if it's not blood, then it was something replicated blood very much. And we're having I'll certainly find out about if that is actually blood. But how did it get there? I mean, did you ever see his hand with anything on?
No, because I mean, you know yourself, you were behind us, we were walking together, and you know, he pointed up to the window because he was talking about something that happened up there or something.
So Don was drawn to a particular location. I remember him talking to you and pointing up at a certain window in this area. Had anything actually ever taken place at that particular point?
The alleged happening, what's supposed to have happened is someone was supposed to have been beaten to death up there.
Beaten to death?
Yeah, by a couple of people, but it's hearsay, whether it's true or not I don't know, but it's strange that he was outside and he was pointing up. At that very spot? At that moment he was pointing towards that spot. He wasn't pointing to the spot, but he was pointing towards it in that direction. And his hand, what he put up, didn't have the blood on it, and it was the same hand, because it was it was his left hand side, wasn't it? So it was blood on it, and that was the hand he was putting up with.
And then obviously as he was walking back, he suddenly noticed his hand was sticky. He looked down and to our surprise he had all this red liquid on his hand.
We checked the walls.
We've looked at the walls, there's nothing out there. He had no injuries to himself. A single drop of it ended up on his trousers from his hand. Right, and you saw as we've cleaned it off, there was no injuries there. We don't know where he's got it from, how it appeared on his hand. Has anything like that ever happened before? With anybody?
Well, no, I've never seen that happen here before.
Right.
I mean, we've had people, you know, getting upset or whatever.
Yeah, but nothing like that.
I've never seen anyone.
So it's a really interesting, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
So hopefully at some stage we'll find out exactly if this is blood or not.
Well, you took a sample. So
I took a sample. We'll find out.
See what happens. Yeah.
Now we're going upstairs to check out that particular location where Don said he was picking up something unusual.
We'd all heard a very loud bang which wasn't picked up on the camera audio.
Oh, did you hear that?
I did.
I want my recorder.
Did you hear it?
Yeah. Get your recorder.
What did you hear?
A bang.
But what did we pick up on the camera video? What we do know is this wasn't myself, Jackie, Steve or Jamie.
Okay, we're just going upstairs now to check these rooms out because I'm pretty sure there's something, I don't know what's happened up there, but...
Just watch the steps here, yeah?
As I began to enter the room, I heard a distinct female disembodied voice who appeared to say, "Lower down." As I entered the room, the same disembodied voice was a female giving her name as Dorothy.
That's them stairs there, Don, you just go to the bottom, it's a locked door. Well, I advise you to go down there.
It was as I neared the bottom of the stairs, I felt a familiar female presence and decided to stop and take a recording. On this occasion, the recorders failed to produce anything, but spirits are known to communicate via other means. This is not the first time in haunted locations I've had disembodied voices heard over the walkie-talkie. And it would appear that this occasion was to be no different, as this female voice is heard over the equipment to say, all of us. There was nothing before, and there was nothing after.
Okay, this, between here and where you are standing there, this is the strongest energy I felt since we walked all the way through and down these stairs. I felt someone on the stairs and stopped and coming in. Is there any significance down here at all?
Well, there is quite a few people have felt something on the stairs and in here.
Right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
I've always made a point of never researching the history of locations I'm asked to investigate. I'm more interested in uncovering undocumented information of value. After all, if it's well documented, be it tunnels or anything else, what value is it? Earlier during the day, when I thought I'd found what I suspect to be a tunnel, which was yet to be confirmed, there was another area that stoked my interest. But it was specifically around this spot when I got that thing. At the same time, this camera switched off for no apparent reason, didn't it, Steve?
It did.
Now, we can't say that's directly related, but...
Well, I've been watching you tonight, and all you've been doing is circling this section.
Yeah, I know.
But obviously I'm not going to tell you until you've asked me. Earlier on, I wrote, Steve gave me a notepad and I wrote some stuff in that notepad.
Right.
This is the area where we're actually stood at the moment is where the like a flagpole is, or part of a ship. And Don has been circulating this area for most of the evening, backwards and forward, but apparently he seems to have fixated on this particular area, and we kept looking up at the balcony above us and believed that someone may have ended their life at this particular spot. On questioning Jamie, he believes, from the information that he's gathered, that somebody did in fact hang themselves from this very spot. It's very interesting how Don seemed to focus on this place, on this particular place. Most of all, what is really interesting is how Don reacted. He suddenly had this belt, as he would say, of this energy, which he believed was confirmation that someone did in fact end their lives at this very point.
Several times tonight I've just been this area round and round and round, and I was kind of getting something that seems to be a little bit hit and miss, and I couldn't actually tie it down. But literally this spot where I was standing just there, I was talking about my suspicions, and I actually thought I was going to start crying at that point. For me, I took that as a confirmation. You told me that somewhere in the building, someone is this area anything to do with anybody dying?
Yes.
Just about here?
Yes.
Did they hang themselves?
Yes.
Earlier today, I asked Jamie to make any notes that he wished to, in regarding incidents that may have taken place here into one of my pads. I didn't want to know the information. Where did you put it? You put it over?
I put it in my bag, inside my bag, so you didn't even know
I didn't know. This is the first
time.
time Jamie's got this out. I've asked him to go and get it out because we asked you earlier, didn't we, about Don mentioned to you about this particular area, and you confirmed that you believe something did take place.
Oh yeah. I've written it down. I've hidden the rest of the stuff because obviously I can't see with the light of the torch.
Yeah, we can certainly. Main hall.
Man hanged himself.
Man hanged
on
himself
flagpole.
on flagpole.
From the actual flagpole.
Ah.
So literally where we're
So
standing.
do you wanna, I've hidden the rest on so you can...
That's fine. I don't need to see it, Jamie. You know.
That's really interesting. Because actually, this is the actual location where Don was actually looking up there.
And where we were standing when I got hit.
Yeah, exactly.
It would appear, by some strange coincidence, I had identified a room where it was said a man was beaten to death. At the same time, mysterious blood appeared on my hand. It had now also been confirmed that the place identified in my suspicions of somebody hanging themselves and taking their own lives also was correct. As a researcher, I do occasionally like to push the boundaries. Tonight's experiment is one that I'd previously enjoyed success with in another haunted location. Placing the voice recorder in a waterproof container and submerging the container 1 to 1.5 feet underwater, in the hope of capturing disembodied voice replies. Steve, if you want to just...
It's full of weights.
It's pretty full of weight, so what we're going to do now, we're going to put the recorder in there.
Which is on record, is it?
Not yet, but it will be. I'm going to press record now.
Okay. Yep.
Put that on very quickly. Obviously. Okay, that's looking good. And I'll take this jug now. It took us approximately 10 seconds to leave the room. When the experiment was set, myself, Steve and Jackie left and secured the room. We left for a few minutes before returning.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to seal off this door. Lights off.
Lights off. Right, Steve.
Okay, we're just heading back into the kitchen. Just going to move the brace off from the lock, go in, check to see what we recorded. Still weighted down.
There's no water in there.
Still recording. Stop. That's us placing it in the water.
If there were voices on the recorder, we had to be sure it was neither myself or any of the team. Before reviewing these recordings, there's a couple of points I'd like to make. The first recording comes approximately 1.5 minutes after the recording started. That gave myself and the rest of the team ample time to leave the area and secure the room. The second point I'd like to make is what's actually being said. Don is going outside. That's not something that any of us would have any reason to say. And the last recording, thank you, again, is not anything that we would be likely to say. That dialogue did not come from any of the team.
It's not undulating frequency noise.
But what about my suspected tunnel? Jamie had worked at Mill Street Barracks for many, many years and was a committee member. If there was a tunnel in the location that I said, Jamie had already confirmed, as far as he was aware, it had never been documented, and this in itself would be a true new discovery. The following morning, it was time to dig a little deeper.
So what sort of area are we looking at?
We're looking at that area in front of those two speakers there.
Well, actually, you can actually see an outline of something here on the floor.
Yeah.
And of course, is this the original floor, do you think? From the...
Not sure. There's another floor underneath it when you see where there's blocks missing. There's another floor underneath, but certainly this wouldn't have been laid until after the use of whatever.
I mean, you can actually certainly see an outline
Yeah.
of some type of depression there, as if And you believe this is where maybe the entrance was to the tunnel?
Certainly, it must go down somewhere. I mean, if you stand on the area, you can hear.
You certainly can, yeah. Which direction do you think it runs off? Or do you think it runs off in this direction because it's taken us across to Mill Street Barracks?
I would have assumed so.
Oh, right.
That's what I say.
The whole area is listed, isn't it? Really very interesting. I've been talking to Don. It looks like this could be the entrance point to a tunnel, which we believe probably runs off in that direction, which takes us right over, basically straight across into Mill Street Barracks, and probably on beyond, probably into the church.
Okay. So it looks like it could have been right. So let me just try something, because out of interest.
Yeah.
What I did was, I looked at the door and I said, going around 9-10 paces would make it directly in line with that one.
Yeah.
So it's probably one.
So you line it up.
9-10 paces.
And that's where the depression starts.
That is exactly in line with the one that I.
So it's exactly in line.
It's exactly in line.
Absolutely fascinating.
But I've also got to say as well, you know, that I felt on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the same anyway. So I've got no doubt there's either two things here. There's either a tunnel going on, else it is a ley line.
I would assume that's probably a tunnel. I've obviously heard some information about that. So.
And this is not documented, is it?
No, it's very hard to find history on both buildings, and it's very hard if you do any documents that you do find. It's hard to separate which one it talks about.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, but we didn't know anything about it. I mean, Jamie, in fact, I said, Jamie, is the tunnel something? And he goes, I think there was some talk about it, and that's the first that we heard. Then he mentioned about knowing you, so here we are.
So find out where obviously it may have come to, and this could be the point. Yeah, so it's a really good bit of research that, and I want to thank Don for his time and letting us into Jam Studios.
Fantastic, brilliant. We shall crack on, leave you in peace. But that was really worth investigating.
Worth it, yeah.
Brilliant.
No problem at all.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, guys.
My claim of a tunnel had now been validated. We knew it extended to Jam Studios. We now suspected more than ever it was linked to the church behind Mill Street Barracks. Could we find anything to suggest this might be the case?
I'm here at St Mary's Low House in St Helens, a wonderful building, and I'm here to talk with Mr Hughes, who works here, in regards to the strange things that we've found in regards to tunnels which we've located at Mill Street Barracks and possibly also located at Jam Studio right opposite. Mr Hughes, what can you tell me about this wonderful building? Are you aware of any tunnels that may be in the vicinity or underneath the property?
Well, there's always been talks of a tunnel going from the church to the Notre Dame convent that was over the road.
Right.
But there's no sign of anything, feasible currently.
Right.
But since you've mentioned the tunnels there, I'm wondering if people have got mixed up and the talks of the tunnels in the past have actually been tunnels from here to the army barracks at the back.
Possible. I mean, you've been down to the Mill Street Barracks and you've been downstairs and had a look, and you can clearly see where obviously there's some remnants of a tunnel there. We're not too sure where it's going, but it would seem that we've located some type of passageway going across Mill Street Barracks and goes through to the Jam Studio, where we found a possible entrance area under the floor. First thing that came to our mind is like we was running straight to the church. Are you aware of anything prior to this building being built here?
Only the old church.
So there was an old church here?
There was a church before this. So it's quite possible that tunnel which I've looked at, the entrance to it, heading in that direction, could have gone to the old church.
Of the old church, was there anything built underneath that one?
There was a crypt. Which is well documented in books of the history of the church.
Right.
The founder of the church, which is named after, when we say Low House, it's because of the woman who founded it. She was buried under there, but it doesn't mention anything about tunnels. It just mentions that before they demolished it completely, they dug down and found the calcified bones of the founder of the church.
Right.
And left it there. People were invited to put a bottle with the name and address of their family and they were all buried with it, and it was just...
So that...
There is graves marked outside.
Oh, so they still remain there?
Yeah, it's there, yeah.
So from the tunnel, it may have come through to, possibly it could have come through to the crypt. So obviously the historical side of these things is absolutely fascinates us, the possibility of maybe a tunnel being here and the purpose of what that was for as well. You also mentioned a little bit earlier, which intrigued me, about some of the strange things that you may have experienced here in the church. Can you tell me a few of those things?
Yeah, we've had people working part way up the tower, which has, say, 4 levels. And then when I've gone up to where they're working, and they've asked me what was I doing above them at the next level, and I said I haven't been up to the next level. No, we could hear you brushing up and walking about.
And nobody was up there?
There's nobody up there.
Interesting.
And then the same thing is, I've heard voices and thought that somebody that was working there was talking to somebody, and the same person said, no, I thought you were talking to somebody in the next room.
Interesting. Okay, Mr. That's wonderful. Just wanted to ask one last question, and I think it intrigues me, is what do you think? Do you believe that there are sometimes just spirits around us?
Yes, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Hughes. It's been a real pleasure. Mill Street Barracks in Merseyside. It's certainly been an eventful place to come and visit. Surprisingly, we've had a multitude of different things take place, not the normal things we'd normally find. We've had the strange blood-type liquid that appeared on Don's hand. It just seemed to come out of the blue. We've no idea what that is, and we're certainly having that analysed at the moment. And also, let's not forget the fact that Don picked up on something really strange in the hall at Mill Street Barracks, as if there was a tunnel. And it was great to actually talk to other people in the area, which actually managed to confirm that there was, in fact, a tunnel. As to where it goes and what it's doing and what it was for is still a bit of a mystery, but we maybe have actually linked to the church, which we did visit and met with Mr. Hughes, who told us of also some strange paranormal things that are going on there. We also met with Don in his club across the road, which was actually part of Mill Street Barracks, and he too is also having paranormal things take place there. It was also really interesting to find a possible exit or entrance to this given tunnel. Whatever all that means remains a mystery at this given time. But it's been a fantastic place. We've also had, Don picking up on the person who hung himself, and actually at that exact location as well, and how Don actually found that out is, I do not know. All very strange. And it's just been so much, and we really don't know how to explain some of the strange recordings that we've had around the building. We've had some very clear responses, and also a really interesting test. It did seem to prevail some interesting information was the water test that we did, sealing up a recorder and placing it underwater in the kitchen and leaving it for 10 minutes in a locked off area, and we did seem to get what can only be described as some type of vocal response on that. As to how that we managed to get that, it remains a mystery, and we'll certainly have to look into that a little bit deeper, but for now it's mind-boggling.
Some of the stuff Don's picked up was absolutely brilliant. Fantastic, learned loads. What can I say, I've been here hundreds of times. Tonight was one of the best nights I've ever seen.
Find us at another location very soon.
Of Phenomena Project.